What's up, folks? What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to another episode of The Loop. I'm your host, DJ CEO. And The Loop, of course, is a show that dedicates itself to having conversations with folks who are in this industry, who are in this culture, who are of the culture, and they live with a mission and a purpose far bigger than just arts, but to make an impact. And today's guest is a first, right? It's the first journalist that I've had on the show, and the irony in it is only existent to me because that's what I got my degree in, and I've done nothing with it until now. So this gentleman here is the one of the founders of a legendary and pioneering website, a website that took hip hop culture and digitized it before anyone else did it. This person I'm speaking of is none other than Chuck, aka Jigsaw Creekmur of allhiphop.com. So let's welcome the brother Chuck to the show. Welcome, Chuck. Thanks for being here. Thank you for your time, man.
Appreciate it, man. I like that DJ name, DJ CEO.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. There's a story behind that, but maybe one day you'll interview me later. But
all right.
Yeah, but thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you've done for the culture, what you've dedicated with your life and being of hip hop, not a fan of hip hop, but of hip hop, is huge, and it's important that we take care of it. How's everything going with you now? Like, let's get into like what's going on, especially with the pandemic. How's your life been?
Life's been good, man. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I mean, it's been tough a little bit, but for the most part, my life and my personal demeanor is just real perfect for this. Just an introvert by nature, so I'm cool with being in my own little zone with Zoom meetings and Zoom interviews even. I'm actually real cool with that. My family fortunately hasn't suffered any COVID related losses, so that's been a blessing too. And other than that, man, All Hip Hop just relaunched the site, so we're really pushing heavy. When I set out and everyone else set out at the top of this year, 2020, like perfectly numerically right, like everything seemed perfect.
Right.
As we went along, it just seemed, just went, Kobe, and then it was just like
nonstop,
like falling down a hill. And but after a while, I had to recalibrate my brain to make this a positive year and not to fall victim to the negativity of whatever that may be, whether it's the pandemic, whether it's the state of the world, the world and the country, or the elections, and all of that, man. It's a heavy burden to bear. George Floyd dying, all of that is very problematic when you're trying to still accomplish things. So we just stayed focused, and we are now doing pretty good.
And you guys recently partnered up with another company to relaunch?
Well, we left a partnership that we were in.
Okay.
And we do have partners in the relaunch, but those partners are folks we pay. So it's
I got you.
Yeah.
Got you. You're not coming into together as hired for whatever service that you need to kind of get it done. I got you. Yeah. I want to take it back to the beginning, start this, get this conversation at the beginning, specifically with your love for the culture as well as the love for journalism. But we're going to start with hip hop first. So this is the age-old cultural question. Yeah. When did you fall in love with hip hop?
I would have to say, I got to give it to Run DMC, man. Run DMC for me was the moment where I just, man, they were superheroes to me. They were larger than life figures. They were superheroes. And when you think of superheroes, they got a nice little moral base. They didn't have great muscles or nothing, but had a presence when they walked in the room, if you will, metaphorically speaking. They were larger than life, and even their videos represented that. So for me, it was Run DMC, and also I related greatly to DMC, who's the the quieter of the three of them.
Mm-hmm.
The quiet storm. He called himself a lot of things, and he was into comic books, which I was. He was more reserved, more quiet. But as an MC, he was, to me, it's
Yeah.
debatable, but
Right.
he was dope. So between Run and DMC, I loved the group, and they were both writers in their own respect. I heard DMC did, some of those early writings,
Mm-hmm.
which Run kind of wouldn't go on without D, because D was, his pen game was serious.
Right.
So yeah, so Run DMC, that's all.
Run DMC, got it. And so I always like to, when I talk to folks about hip hop, more so with people outside the culture, and just kind of reminding them. But like, so hip hop is a culture, right? Rap music is the sound of the culture. How did you, like, what was the point when you realized that it was a living and constantly ever evolving thing? Like, it was a culture as opposed to it just being the music.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm old enough to have been involved in everything: breakdancing, graffiti, everything. Even the knowledge itself, everything. So I'm old enough to have been even DJing. I was a DJ in college. Well, I was actually a DJ before college. I was a DJ in my house, in my basement. I didn't do parties or anything, but
Right.
I had a fader and 2 turntables and my dad's record collection, and I started to buy vinyl. And eventually evolved into a college DJ, which was more of a personality type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, when I found out it was a living, breathing thing was just early on. Movies, that represented all the elements of hip hop, and just really like it just being like this cultural phenomenon that really I was able to get down with in every way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
And mastering each of those elements is not really possible, but it's something that I think early hip hop heads tried to do somehow. If you could draw, which I can, you were doing graffiti, which I
Definitely.
could. If you
Definitely.
could rap, you rap, which I could. If you could break dance, which I could, you did. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I didn't get good at DJing because my at the time you had a crossfader. I never had pitch on my turntable, so I could.
Wow.
Yeah, you had to match it up like perfect for it. So I never became much of a DJ, but now looking at you guys, I wish I had stuck with it.
Yeah, it's kind of come full circle. I mean, because at the beginning of it all, it was all about the DJ, and now we're back at it, for good and bad reasons, But I agree with you 100%. Like for me growing up, like I'm 39, so for me growing up, like being a part of hip hop meant you pretty much tried your hand at everything. You did everything. Like I wouldn't never call myself a B-boy, but me and my boys, we would have routines that we would practice. So when we would go to the house party, we could bust them out. I rap too, you know what I'm saying? I was rhyming. The DJing I never could draw. That's just not my thing. But the DJing aspect for me was my dad, for the most part, was like the family DJ, if you will. So, my love for music, my access to, the records and that stuff was just always in my house. And then, eventually it was calling, and then I had to do it. And since about 97, I've been doing it. But yeah, it's the culture is all encompassing. And I try to push that as much as possible, because folks just like, oh, hip hop, and they're just talking about the music. And it's like, no, it's way more than that. Fashion and all that type of stuff. So when you were coming up, like I'm sure, like especially a young black kid coming up, you're kind of force fed ideas of what you can be or what you want to be, or even if you're looking at hip hop, you might not even think about it, but it's like, yeah, I'm going to do this like for the rest of my life, right? But at some point, you gained a strong interest in journalism, or you realized that you had a gift with words and being able to write and tell a story, especially for somebody who's a self-proclaimed introvert. I'm sure this allowed you to kind of like really open up and be somebody bigger than maybe your temperament allowed you to be.
Right.
So talk about that. Talk about how you kind of discovered your love for writing.
Well, I discovered my love for writing. It all came naturally, through hip hop and comic books and things like that. And I love comic books because they were a combination of written as well as visual. And as I started to write, whether it was hip hop or whatever, it eventually just evolved naturally into, what are your strong, in school, you're like, what do I do well? Um, I don't know, for whatever reason, I didn't want to write books at that time. And so my English teacher, I should say, also ran the paper and stuff. So I just naturally fell into journalism. But I wasn't really a great journalist, when you think of journalist, you're thinking of like Lois Lane, you're getting the scoop, you know what I'm saying? Like I
Right.
wasn't the type of journalist because I wasn't aggressive enough, so even in college, I wasn't really aggressive. So I focused more on interviewing people and not busting into a press conference and like, you know what I'm saying? So so I was a good journalist. I did a lot of reviews and I did concert reviews and I interviewed artists sitting next to them, things like that. But so my writing game is real. Like I'm
Right.
like, I'm nice with it. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I mean, when I was really writing, I really impressed myself with my work. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
that's tough. Eventually I started writing for The Source and all these magazines, and but coming out of college, I was nice, man. So writing is a lost art now, and I
It
still,
is.
yeah,
It is. I think as much as I appreciate the diversity and voices that we have now, because people can do blogs and all these different things. It's an art to it. There's a craft to it. There's a spirit to it, right?
yeah,
And people need to understand that and respect that. And I think folks like yourself, folks like my good friend Kevin Powell, my cousin
oh
Ron,
yeah, Kevin,
yeah,
that's my
my cousin Ron K. Reeves, who was over at Vibe, and Marcus, husband now, Marcus Reeves, writers.
yeah,
And they make you, like when you pick it up and you read it, like you can't put it down.
yeah. Oh man, Kevin is man. Oh, like Kevin Powell, like I grew up on Kevin Powell and people like him.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, like, these are genius level writers, and they're putting this in hip hop. It's I don't even know how to put that in words, and it's unfortunate. I ain't even gonna carry on. It's sad to me.
No. Please do, because I get it. That's what this is about. It's about the passion. It's about the things that take your breath, your words away, because it's that powerful. And that's what this show is about. So please, because Kevin's a great friend of mine. I met him years ago. I was actually busting his ass on the basketball court. That's how we met. That's how we met. And
Yeah.
then we just kind of just clicked after that. And then I actually did, when he was running for, was he running for Congress or councilman? He was running for some political seat in New York.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And so he had tapped me to DJ like a bunch of like fundraising stuff like that. But Kevin's an amazing writer. And you were actually getting into it, the idea of actually hip hop writing. It's like taking the English language and then putting it in our language.
Yeah.
And there is a art to that as well,
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, man. I mean, we talk different, we act different, we have different nuances.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what made all those magazines special. And eventually that's what made all hip hop special, because mainstream media wasn't able to capture that. And they weren't able to get those little nuances and those little subtleties that we only know. Most of those people are integrated within mainstream publications now.
Yeah.
People are hired at a high level to represent that in those places now. So it's sad to me, because I think that I really respected when we had our own thing, and I think partly that's why I still own All Hip Hop with my business partner, because somebody's got to hold it down, and
Right.
I don't see anybody holding it down right now, and we're doubling down on it right now as we speak. With relaunch.
Yeah, and also I think what's changed. So, like I mentioned earlier in the introduction, so my degree is in broadcast journalism. I am a very, very good writer, but my strength is, I guess, in this type of journalism, in the sense of like sitting down with someone and being able to get the necessary information and engage. That's my strength. I can write,
Yeah.
but this is my strength. I feel like that's where it's gone now. I feel like in a traditional sense, like what allhiphop.com is very much about the written word. But you see more of State of the Cultures. You see more of Drink Champs, which is not in a traditional sense. It's not a journalistic approach to it.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with they're doing, and I think that it's not journalism. Let's be real. Like,
Right. It's not. Right.
It is interviewing people, but it's more like just conversations between old friends. Drink Champs, and that's why Nori does such a good job, because he knows these guys, and same with Fat Joe. He knows these guys, so they do get a lot of good information, but it's definitely not what I would consider journalism.
Right. Agreed. Definitely not considered journalism. What is it about the writing that fulfills you? Like what about it gives you purpose?
Well, I don't know about it. I don't know what right now. I don't know right now. Like, but what it used to do for me is it allowed me to shape and mold something creatively that people paid attention to. And it allowed me to paint an intimate picture about a person, basically, or a group, whatever the case may be. So you would end up hanging out with an artist for days and days and days. And based on that, you might interview their mom, you might interview their partner, interview their other group member to talk about each other. And you would put all of that into thousands of words, and those words would tell a literal story, like a beginning, a middle, and an end. Would tell, why is this guy struggling? You would examine all these things, and you would see all these sides of an artist. You'd see an artist curse out the doorman. You would see smoking weed, or me and Jim Jones, who I'm going to talk to a little bit. He and I are like bonded forever, because when he dropped me off, I did my first cover story on the Diplomats, and ironically, I'm wearing a Dipset hat.
Yeah, okay.
And like the night he dropped, I spent the most time with Jim. So even though it was mainly around Cam, Jim had a strong presence because I spent the most time with him. So Jim dropped me off and then got arrested right after he dropped me off in Brooklyn. Like, he gave me a ride home. Like, that was a big deal back in the day, And so anyway, those are the things you don't get doing these types of interviews. And you just don't, man. So that's what I enjoyed. Joe Budden. I'm not really super dope, like super crazy cool with Joe, because he's just gone into another realm. But for the longest time, I was invited to the pool party, or like his mom is asking about me, and because I spent that much time with Joe. We were in the strip clubs, in his Hummer, in his house. So you just don't get that anymore. So I wish we could get back to that, and I think that we can. So for All Hip Hop's sake, we're going to continue storytelling. We're going to continue. I just don't feel it as a writer, because there's no glory. There's no feedback in it.
There's not a lot of work in it. It's more of a, I see, because what you're saying is pretty much when you're writing this article, you are not just telling the facts, but you're able to put the experience that you just shared with these people onto paper, or onto the webpage. Whereas, and it's so funny. So Scottie Pippen just recently put out he recently was quoted talking about the bubble, and saying that this isn't really NBA basketball. This is kind of glorified pickup basketball, because the elements that make NBA basketball what it is don't exist. Like there's no grind, there's no travel, there's no dealing with the fans, there's no what, all that type of stuff has an impact on the game that we see.
Right.
And it's pretty much the same thing you're saying about journalism. It's like without being able to personally engage with this person face to face, be around them, follow them, observe them, you can only write but so much. You can only comment but so much on something where you're just like, okay, and then tell me about this, and then tell me about that,
Yeah.
So, because I remember like picking up the vibe or picking up the source, and like the article would start off like, Biggie tells C's to roll up. As I sit here and wait, Biggie tells C's to roll up a blunt, and they're like, that's how the article would start.
Yeah, man.
And I agree 100%. That's kind of gone. We're gonna actually get back into the aspect of the culture and what goes into the intimacy of it all, but I definitely want to touch on allhiphop.com. So 1998, I was 17. I was very much probably on AOL, in some AOL chat room, like, type in ASL or whatever. The internet was brand spanking new, especially for consumers. There wasn't much for us. CD-ROMs were probably still bigger than the internet at the time. But you and your partner had the foresight to see where the internet was going, to see how people receive the information was going, and how technology was evolving and was going to change the game forever. What do you attribute to having that kind of foresight? What were you thinking at the time?
Well, I was, I didn't pursue journalism immediately after college. I went straight to a bank, which was a money thing,
Mm-hmm.
And so I just saw my life kind of getting away from me. So while I was at the bank, I just started grinding and really just trying to force it. And ultimately, man, I wasn't getting the opportunities I felt I deserved based on how well I wrote. I knew I deserved a shot, and I wasn't getting a shot from those very magazines I ended up writing for. And that was because I wasn't in New York. I was in Delaware, and I was sending letters into a black hole. I'm not shaking hands or anything like that. So I, both of us, man, we just did it out of a need and an understanding that this is a global platform and that people will see us even if we're not in New York. People will see us in Paris or over wherever on the other side of the world. And that was important at that time, to be seen and heard and be able to express yourself. And also it was a rejection of the actual stuff that I grew up loving in a lot of ways. So what I was doing is I was taking the old magazine interviews that I was doing and just presenting them as Q&As on All Hip Hop.
Mm-hmm.
The very earliest, I was actually reproducing the actual articles, which was really big names like DMX, Memphis Bleak, Beanie Siegel, all these people I was interviewing. So I would literally take my magazine article from the independent magazines and just put them on a site before I had All Hip Hop, before Greg became partners. And so at the end of the day, man, we just saw a desperate need to be heard and seen. It's a quintessential hip hop story because that's just where hip hop comes from. You do things out of a need because you don't have any other option. So you do this this way, and it produces the opportunity that you so desire. So it's no different than 50 Cent getting shot 9 times. It's less dramatic and it's less cliche, but it's the same principle behind it, really by any means. So that's pretty much it. Greg was doing he was doing All Hip Hop prior to me becoming his business partner, and we're from the same area. So I basically was contributing to the site because I was mastering or learning Photoshop and all these things, and I was sending him graphics and helping him improve the site.
Hmm.
Ultimately, we were just like, what are we doing? Let's just partner.
Right.
Yeah, and it just made sense. So
Because you two had two separate sites, correct?
yeah,
And
I
then
had
you kind of
another
merged.
site that I had another site that I thought conceptually was dope in a
Mhm.
lifestyle way. It was obviously heavily hip hop, but it was also a lot of other things creatively, more like a magazine that had cool things. And Greg's site was, I don't really know what all hip hop was. It was a mishmash of a lot of different things. But I think that we both had such good ideas individually that when we brought it together, it was magic. It's kind of like, again, if 50 Cent doesn't get shot, what happens?
Right.
You know what I mean? What's his career look like? So if me and Greg didn't partner, it's hard for me to look at what happens after that. I could be working for somebody, or maybe writing books. I'm not sure, but
Hmm.
it definitely wouldn't be what it is right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of stories like that. Where people, um, there's always somebody there that's going to help take you to the next level, even if that's not what you intended. I saw your TED talk, and when you talked about planning, sometimes it's not in your plans, but
Right.
what ends up happening takes you further than you ever did. I have a situation like that simply just with my DJ career. Like for the early part of my DJ career, I was doing what I would consider typical, a black kid from Brooklyn,
Hmm.
typical DJ stuff. I was doing after work parties, doing regular club, playing the same stuff. No diversity in my music, no whatever. It's all whatever. And then I partnered up with my buddy Mike out of out of circumstance, out of necessity. Not
Right.
even like me thinking like, yo, this would be cool and we could do this. I was just like, all right, I feel stuck. He was the brand ambassador for Belvedere at the time.
Hmm.
Belvedere needed a new activation. And I felt, well, if I align myself with the Belvedere brand, this is kind of like whatever. That was the the maximum that I was thinking. Like, okay, people can see my name with Belvedere, and that'll help me raise the dollar amount and do all this other stuff. But in actuality, it just opened me up creatively to
Yeah.
what I was able to do, and because of that, it took me all over the world.
Right.
But I
Right.
didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I
Right.
was just like, yo, I just want to, I want some more money, want to, and that's it. So that definitely happens. That definitely happens. And for the culture, we're glad that happened because we were able to get all hip hop. And I know I went to all hip hop many a days checking for whatever the latest mixtape was,
Yeah.
or reading, an interview, or whatever. It was like for us, for like the new, I wouldn't say that, because for like that next generation or that next wave when it comes to hip hop journalism or hip hop publications, it was like the digital version of the source
Hmm.
for that time. It was the digital version of the source.
Well,
You know,
I received that.
yeah. Um, quick question has nothing else to do with anything else. How did you get the name Jigsaw?
Jigsaw. I'll give you the actual real version. There's two versions of it. I'm a brother in the fraternity A Phi A, Alpha Phi
Okay.
Alpha,
Hmm.
and I pledged, and I uh, I was difficult to understand, so they called me Jigsaw. Um, my pledge process wasn't easy, so there's another reason as
Okay.
well. But it's rooted in the frat, and I think it's rooted in my personality too. From what I've been told. So I accept it, and yeah, man, it's like my middle name now.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was when I saw, I was like Jigsaw. Okay, and then when I got your email, I was like, oh no, this is really like it's a name that he lives by or embraces at the very at the
Yeah,
very least.
yeah, man.
That's what's up. I want to get into the culture. I want to get into hip hop. We're gonna talk some hip hop. Um, I saw, I read rather, an interview that you did. So we're gonna lead up to that in discussing hip hop and how you view it, and especially from like an OG new
Mhm.
artist kind of thing. And I always think that's an interesting discussion. But what do you think the state of the culture is right now as far as hip hop? Like, where do you see it, and how do you feel about it?
I think the culture is healthy, man. I mean, I personally would love to see a little bit more skew a little more on a conscious level, meaning, just a little more to say. But again, hip hop is reflective of the times, and I just feel like the times don't necessarily call for that.
Mm.
It's changing. There's rappers like Lil Baby, the Baby, folks that have something to say here and there,
Mm-hmm.
as well as people like D Smoke um, and others who do in fact overtly have something to say, and
Mm-hmm.
not in a corny way either, like very like nuanced, subtle, uh you know natural, authentic. So I think the culture is very healthy, man. Even Conway, Griselda, Westside Gun, all those guys. Atlanta is killing it, and Atlanta literally is like, just got everything you would want right now. I want to see more from New York in the future,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like the other areas represent themselves in their most authentic way. Like LA, California is still like Cali. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Atlanta is still Atlanta. I can't really speak on a whole everywhere else, but I feel like New York is being impacted by other regions, whereas it just in my heart of hearts, it just shouldn't be like that. Just keeping it real. And but overall, it's healthy, man. Like I got young dudes, this dude Grip out of Atlanta. No, who's Grip? I mean, he's just somebody I listen to a lot. You
Mm-hmm.
this kid, Big Baby Scumbag. I mean, I listen to him a lot. D Smoke,
Mm-hmm.
Nick Grant. You
Yeah,
know,
Nick Grant is dope.
yeah,
Nick Grant is
yeah.
super dope.
Yeah, so I don't stay like stuck in the past
Mm-hmm.
in no way, shape, or form, and I rarely even listen to old school anymore because I don't see the need, man. I mean, I listen to Shook Ones a lot, but I mean, and I got in my EPMD bag the other day,
Mm-hmm.
but like, yo, it is way too much dope stuff going on to be sitting around moping about the old days and looking for us to go back. We ain't going back. Why would you want to go back? Who wants
Right.
to? I don't. I didn't create all hip hop to go back. You know what I mean? I created all hip hop to move forward. So we have to, you know, we gotta get off of that, man. And also the other thing is, old heads need to just be old heads. If you're gonna be an old head, just be that. You know what I'm saying? Our parents may have hated hip hop, but I don't think they tried to. Well, I don't know. I can't speak for everyone, but my parents didn't try to squash my dreams, or
Mm-hmm.
it might have been some jokes here and there, but it wasn't no, let kids be kids, man. They gonna do what they want to.
Would you agree to this? Because this is my point. I
Do.
feel like as far as hip hop, I can't speak on any other genre, right? Because people tend to bring that up in the conversation. Our parents felt this way about hip hop, right? But hip hop was a brand new genre, right? It
Mhm.
was a brand new culture. It never existed.
Right.
So, because even for them, they went through the same thing when rock and roll came out or Motown or whatever. It was new genres that their parents never heard of. So it would just seem like, what is this? This is not music.
Right.
This is the first time that I know of, specifically within our culture anyway, that the conversation is amongst hip hop.
Yes.
It's
Mhm.
not just a generational thing, right? So the
Mhm.
old heads are speaking on a culture that they created as opposed to speaking on some completely new thing that never existed. It's the evolution of the thing that they existed. So for me, I have a total understanding of how they can want to,
Mhm.
speak up and defend it because this is what we helped to create as opposed to the new kids creating something completely different. This is the first time we ever seen anything like that, right?
But I mean, I said this in an interview the other day. Grandmaster Melly Mel complained about Run DMC. You
Yes, he did.
know what I'm
Yes, he
saying?
did. Yeah.
You know, eh, hip hop's always done this, and it's just counterproductive, man. And I think that's why I salute like Ti and I'm trying to think of others off the top, but T.I.'s got a new album dropping, and he's got Lil Baby on there. He's got he's got Snoop on there. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So that's the way it should be, and we need to be better about receiving the youth. We should be running this industry. It's a billion-dollar industry that we don't run, and that's
Yes.
where and a lot of that is due to infighting.
Yeah.
Imagine 50 Cent working with Puffy, working with Jay-Z, working with Jay Prince, working with Snoop or whoever. You know what I mean? As opposed to being so competitive. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to run this industry.
I agree. I just actually had a conversation with some friends the other day about this. A friend of mine hit me up. He was like, "Yo, what do you think about that Pop Star video?" And I hadn't seen it yet. So I was like, "Yo, shoot me the link. Check it." And I watched it, and I was like, "Yo, this is a dope video." And then anybody who knows me, like I'm opinionated, so I'm gonna get to my point, right? So I said, "Nah, it's dope." I said, "But now, allow me to apply some social commentary." And, first issue, Justin Bieber. They're friends, and that's cool. I said, but it's the likes of Justin Bieber and Miley Cyrus who pick up and put down hip hop whenever it suits them, right?
Yeah,
That's a problem for me.
yeah,
For
yeah.
him to be the star of this video, he's not really us. So you used him for that. And then I didn't see a ton of black people in the music video, and so I said, look at what hip hop became. Like it was blacks and Latinos creating and supporting. Then it went from blacks and Latinos creating, and like when you go to concerts, it was just a sea of white people. And then, we get to a point now, it's like now we got to look for the black people,
Yeah.
outside the artists. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I just feel like sometimes we give away our culture without even thinking about the ramifications of it. And I know hip hop has had, to me, the biggest issue with hip hop that's had a separation between the past generations and today's generations is the money.
Yeah.
The more money that we made, the further we went apart.
Right.
I think it's tough. It's tough with that. And I agree with you on a lot of what you said, especially the balance aspect. I think what's different though is like we had balance because I'll not say because, but there was there were limited sources to receive hip hop, right? So the radio was balanced by default. Like you were going to get Tribe Called Quest along with, Cool G Rap, along with Biggie, along with Wu-Tang and Hammer and all of it, that was that. I think now we have to search more, right? So the radio is very monolithic in its representation of the culture. But because we have access to all this music all over the place, you can find, the D Smokes. You can find like my young boy out of Brooklyn, Busy. You can find, you can get your Sky Zoos. You can get all of that, and you can curate your own listening pleasure. We're not stuck to the radio.
Yep, definitely not. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, I agree that it's in a great place. I agree that the old heads shouldn't be like knocking them, but I also understand their.
But it's an easy solution to that. You as an artist, if you're an artist that came out in a certain period of time, put somebody on that represents what you like.
Yes.
Stop trying to hog up all the the energy that people have, and put somebody on, and then you can both build together. You know what I mean? That's what these other folks are doing, and that's really what ultimately created the scenario that we're in now, because we would not give them opportunity in a lot of instances. So they go to where the opportunity is, and now the opportunity is endless because it's all online.
Mm-hmm.
So it's on social media, and they're able, and YouTube, and they're able to create that, that energy around themselves without the gatekeepers.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's pros and cons to gatekeepers, and then there's pros and cons to the way the system is set up now. But I agree with you 100%, and that's what I try to use. That's my goal with this platform, and just anything that I do, is I don't want to waste time speaking loudly about the things that I don't like. I can use my platform, my energy to promote the things that I do like. That's neither here nor there. So what do you have going on outside of the relaunch of allhiphop.com?
Well, I have a lot of things going on. I don't even know if I should speak on it, but I'll just
Mhm.
say, I've definitely been venturing quietly, but just slowly in film, TV. Working on just some projects behind the scenes, trying to get them off the ground. And I've been working for the longest time on a book, which one of my friends today just cursed me out.
Mhm.
Yeah, because it's been that long, and so that's pretty much it. I think I'm going to give up social media for a few months
Oh
to
wow. Okay.
help myself focus on those things because no one's tombstone will ever read was really hot on Twitter or he was killing it on Instagram. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
So that's really what I'm trying to work on. But all hip hop keeps me busy, and that's a good thing too. So with all hip hop's archives, which are pretty deep, we have audio and video, literally 20 years deep,
Mhm.
20 plus years, and that allows for a lot of things. You're talking podcasts, you're talking TV, you're talking, and original stuff too. A lot of original programs. So I'm probably going to set up something and begin to put uh, content and pilots or whatever through that company, and then start going from there. Yeah, it's exciting, man. Because I think we have too much content out here, really, but we don't have too much hip hop content out here. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely feel like there's a space for some quality hip hop, programming.
Yeah, I mean, and I would be very interested to see what that looks like. There's a bunch of, I think, and we spoke about this a little earlier about regards to the pandemic and how all these blessings that are kind of lying within the craziness that exists. The people there, I think the one thing that really is beneficial to the culture is that there's no room for fluff. There's no room for just people just putting out whatever.
Yeah,
Like, you either talented or you're not, because we don't have the other distractions to take us away from focusing on the fact that you're not that good at what you do. Like, what I'm saying, if you're a DJ, right, there's no liquor, there's no confetti, there's no smoke machine, there's no
hmm,
banging ass girl, throwing it at you, or a chick chasing the dude trying to get in the table, or say, like, there's none of that.
yeah,
It's just me and you.
right.
And if I can't keep your attention and keep you rocking with this music, then I'm not that good. It's the same thing with singers, is with art, artists and performing artists and whatever it is you do, because people got time now.
Yeah, yeah, man. You got time, and you know, and it's crazy because you have to be able to get and grab people right there.
Hmm.
We're in a streaming era where if you don't capture somebody the first 15 seconds, they're turning the channel or they're clicking off that song.
Yep.
And the content has to grab you, or else, it's not like you pay for a movie and you're like, all right, this sucks. For 5 minutes in, 10 minutes in, man, no matter what, if the movie sucks, you're gonna watch the whole movie if you pay for it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? The same with an album. The album might suck, but guess what? You will listen to that whole album because you paid, $15 for it, or that
Yep.
CD, whatever you call it,
Hmm.
and you listen to the whole thing, and that's just what you did.
Yeah. That's
Now,
very
if
true.
they don't like your first song, you may not even listen to the rest of the album,
Nope.
and it's almost guaranteed. You drop an album, that people are gonna like 3 songs,
Hmm.
and that's it. So content is definitely like in a space where you have to do a bang up job to keep people's attention, and then also for them to tell other people,
Yeah.
and share it as well. So
It's very.
that's how I look at everything now. I don't necessarily look at it like a writer anymore, because from a writer perspective, you know that the quality of the work is going to it used to speak for itself. Now you have to think of marketing. You have to bake in marketing. You have to bake in social media. You have to, ponder those things to get people to share it without a marketing budget that's crazy, and to, have watch parties or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that's really the only way to maneuver in this day and age,
That's
So
very true. Have you seen have you been able to tap into Pretty Lou's show Turn the Tables on Instagram?
mm-mm.
So Pretty Lou has a show on a DJ. It's a DJ game show
Okay.
on Instagram Live. I was on season 1, and I'm back on season. This is season 3 now. I'm back on season 3. And it's a game show for DJs, and it is an amazing show for the culture. And I definitely suggest you to check it out. It's pretty dope. And this, I mean, I bring that up just to kind of tie into your point about content and there being a space for like really dope hip hop content. He has amazing elements. He has a celebrity guest, like Judge, that's on every time. So he's had everyone from Fat Joe, Prince Marky D, DJ Scratch, just everybody, Efeezy, DJ Epps, K7 he had on there, just like everybody. Spinderella's been on there.
Okay.
Pretty like it's really dope, and I just suggest that you should check it out because it's definitely one of those things that's great for the culture.
Oh, I definitely will. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a dope show. Um, so I do this with every guest, right? Because it's the name of the show is called The Loop, right? And it's very much about culture, not just hip hop culture, pop culture at large, but it's rooted in hip hop. So there's 2 questions I ask every guest towards the end of the interview. And I used to prep the guests, but I don't anymore because now I want to see your brains work. I want to see you work. Top 5. You can't have a conversation about hip hop without top 5, but the top 5 is specific to who you are and what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you say are your top 5 hip hop journalists of all time?
Oh man, that's a tough one there, boy. Woo! Because I'm gonna inevitably forget someone, but if I had to go off the top of the dome, that's tough, man. That's a tough one there. But let me see. I'll definitely say Kevin Powell.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Powell, and I think Kevin Powell was kind of a prototype for me personally because he was more than a journalist. He was impacting the culture. He was also on The Real World, which was kind of unprecedented. He was in the first iteration of reality TV, and he was a star as a journalist too. And I have to admit, I never wanted to be forgotten. I wanted to be known for my contributions. So Kevin is one of them. Oh man. You putting me on the spot here, man. Hold on.
Yeah.
Daytwan Thomas. Daytwan's my man. He's one of my good friends.
Daytwan's the homie.
Yeah, Daytwan. I'm gonna have to say him, and I say Daytwan because Daytwan has navigate. First of all, Daytwan has literally, like, it feels like has been in every publication, but also he's pioneered different types of hip hop publications, such as King. He now runs Vibe, which he used to run, but he also was, a member of the earliest internet too, which was Hook.com. Hooked was, it's long forgotten at this point, but for me, as someone who was in the game early, I paid attention to the competition, who was getting funding, like just about everything. So Daytwan is a boss, but he's also a great journalist. After that, you know what? I'm just gonna kind of rock with the people I know. My man Jerry Barrow.
Okay.
Jerry Barrow is another guy who I've known a very long time. And when I moved to New York, we were all a part of a team called at Volume.com. At Volume.com, was kind of like before people figured out the internet, and they were bringing all these big names. So, Jerry was one of the guys who came, and Jerry most recently worked at BET. So he's all over the place, man. So he's a little more low key, but I mean, in terms of being a writer, a true great. I'm trying to think of some of the ladies. I would mention one particular lady, but she doesn't like me, so I can't say that. Very impactful earlier, but I definitely can't say her.
I think if it's who I think it is, I think I already know the name.
Yeah,
but
I'm never
especially if she's the first one to come to mind, because she's actually kind of been pretty big in the as far as hip hop journalism goes. So
yeah, I'll say another friend of mine, Kim Osario. Kim Osario.
Kim Osario from The Source. Yeah.
Yeah, Kim Osario is someone I really admired a lot and still do. She also gave me my first assignment as a writer, first cover story, which was Dipset. So, but Kim rose through the ranks. She grinded it out, and she's a heck of a writer. And I guess I'm leaving out a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna keep it real. I'm leaving out a lot of people. You know what I'm gonna say though? I know who I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say Harry Allen. And I don't know if you know.
Yeah. Icon Harry Allen.
Harry Allen, definitely iconic and represented early before there were even hip hop magazines. Now, there's Greg Tate. I mean, now that I'm going, there's a lot.
Right.
But a lot of the guys people I've mentioned, I mean, Tanya Pendleton. I mean, there's a lot of people that I could really say. But I also like to focus also on those that are still doing it as a journalist, still in the business, still writing, still running publications. And that's kind of why I picked who I picked. And Harry Allen, I'm not exactly sure what he does now, but his presence was so powerful early on that he deserves to be on that Mount Rushmore.
Definitely. Harry Allen is a pillar of hip-hop journalism, if you ask me. The person I was thinking of was Chio Hodari Coker.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
I got his name a little mixed up, but yeah.
Oh, man, no, but, man, shout out to him, Chio, because he look, man, you probably won't find it, but I interviewed him, but he's now writing for TV.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so he's writing. So he wrote the Biggie book. He wrote the Biggie movie, Notorious. He wrote Luke Cage. He's the showrunner.
I did not know he was involved with Luke Cage.
Wow. Oh yeah, man. That's the homie there. So yeah, I mean, gotta shout him out for sure. Yeah, he's.
He was. I was like, and I just couldn't remember his name, but I know he was like just so big in like the '90s, and early 2000s with it.
That's the homie, man, and we're both comic nerds, man. So it's so crazy to see like so many of my friends and associates grow to be large. Listen, man, journalism is not the end. If you don't. My friends work for Tyler Perry. They started out as journalists. They work for, Al Sharpton. I mean, all over the place. So if you stopped at hip hop as a journalist, you might have sold yourself short at this point in the game. That's why hip hop's so important, because it's an institution that still represents for the culture. But make no mistake about it, man. There's a lot of wings behind the wings that need to be still spread.
The last question. It's more in touch with the name of the show, The Loop. So I like to ask all my guests, if you had one artist, it could be either one artist or one album or one song, either of the three, that you can listen to.
Say that one more time.
So it could be either one artist or one album or one song, either of them, that you will listen to, that you can listen to on loop all day, every day. Who or what would that be?
I'm gonna have to go with Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Mm,
Yeah.
that is a first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want to hear more. Tell me why. That's a first.
Legendary album, man. Legendary album. Got some relaxing songs on there.
Mm-hmm.
Some grooves, some dancing joints on there. You know, your energy needs some elevation. You know, go with Thriller or Beat It. You know, so it's got a little bit of everything. I honestly think that's the greatest album. You know, Stevie Wonder got songs in the key of life, but Mike took that pop, that R&B, you know,
Mm-hmm.
some of that badassness, and I think that hip hop kind of brought to this table,
Mm-hmm.
mashed it all into a album that everybody loved, man. So
Yeah, I agree. I
yeah,
agree.
I gotta go with that one. That's what I would say off top. If you want
Mm-hmm.
to talk about hip hop, I would go with Mobb Deep's The Infamous.
Okay.
Um, Mainly because Shook Ones is on there.
Shook Ones again. You did say like you was just listening to Shook
Yeah,
Ones.
Shook Ones is if I had to listen to one song
Yeah.
over and over, it would be Shook Ones.
Shook Ones is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
All right, well, Chuck, man, I appreciate you so much for your time, man. I appreciate you for your insight and being to sit down and talk culture, talk journalism, and it's so funny. While we were talking, I can see like there's certain subjects where it's like informative, and you were kind of like, yeah, that. But when we got into like the culture and talking about the journalism, like your energy changed. And I think that speaks volumes to what this show is about, and it's why I created it. It's about the passion. It's about people who are in our industries, who are in our culture, who cannot see themselves not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
if they could not do what they're doing, if they cannot contribute in the way that they do, they would just not want to be here because this is what they live for.
Yeah.
And we need more of that.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing, and I try my best to tell the youth, you can live your dreams. You can live your dreams. You can literally live your dreams. I mean, if my young self was able to know this is what it would be, he'd be like, yo, he would be like hype. Because my young self didn't even really see this. You know, he saw something, but not this. You know, so man, I appreciate you. Thanks for having me. And yeah, man, it's just we got. I think too, man. You know, and not to go on too long, but we have to remember that not just rappers built the culture. You know,
Right.
it's more than just rappers that built this culture, and we have to work better at celebrating the people that help the rappers and help the celebs be celebs.
Again, thank you, Chuck, so much for being with us. Tell the people actually where they can find you and follow you on social media, and as well as for All Hip Hop.
Yeah, you can find me at Chuck Creekmur, ChuckCreekmur on all social platforms. And All Hip Hop is All Hip Hop COM on all social platforms. And we have a TikTok, but we don't use it. Yeah, that's just All Hip Hop. But yeah,
Right.
well,
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a loop. Thanks to Chuck Creekmur, aka Jigsaw. Thank for being on the show. My name is DJ CEO, and once again, as always, make sure you stay in the loop. All right, peace.